friends, and welcome to episode 59 of Did You Bring the Hummus podcast. I'm Kimberly, your host, and I'm super excited to be here with you today. Did You Bring the Hummus is a podcast to help you go vegan. This season, I'm sharing new episodes every Monday discussing all things vegan. Most importantly, we'll talk about how to embrace this meaningful decision with fervor and fun. Episodes post every Monday on your favorite podcast app. Before we get started, I have one very important question for you. Did you bring the hummus? Today, I am joined by Coach Alyssa Almond of Rooted Rise. Alyssa began her career with Teach for America as a third grade bilingual teacher in Washington Heights, New York. Her fascination with languages and language learning called for her to specialize in teaching English to speakers of other languages, also known as TESOL. She helped immigrants acquire the language skills needed to succeed in the U.S. Alyssa worked both as a middle school ESOL teacher and as a program administrator in adult basic education. But her veganism reminded her that she's not just about humans. So, in 2017, after some intensive coaching, Alyssa gathered her courage and left her full-time job in education. This leap landed her at a farmed animal sanctuary and The Last Pig. Following her passion, talent, and empathetic nature led her to create the perfect role for herself. As a certified professional coactive coach, or CPCC, Alyssa gets to help animals by supporting the humans who serve them. In this episode, Alyssa and I get into the philosophy of veganism and discuss a specific idea called effective altruism. We also discuss how we each approach spreading the vegan message, the cats with whom we live, farmed animal sanctuaries, Alyssa's coaching practice, and of course, hummus. Hey, Alyssa. Thanks for being here with me.
Hi, Kimberly. I'm delighted to be here.
I'm so
Thank you for having
excited.
me.
Thank you
Me
for being
too.
here.
Yay!
Good stuff. So my first question, as always, tell us about your vegan journey.
Yeah. So I've been vegetarian since 1989. Um, but at some point along the way, I resisted learning about the dairy and egg industries, or I just didn't, get it. And then in 2011, I was kind of, I don't know, I was searching for something, kind of for some meaning, some way I could contribute, although I've been in education and so I was contributing that way. And I honestly can't remember what particularly took me to do the research, but as soon as I learned about dairy, and as soon as I learned about eggs, that was it. So vegan overnight.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I watched Meet Your Meat,
Okay.
PETA's video, and I was living with my uh, ex-husband now, who's an omnivore, lovely guy. Um, and so I remember where I was sitting and watching the slaughter of pigs. I mean, again, I was already had been vegetarian for years, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So that was it. I was done.
What brought you to vegetarianism?
I mean, it was for ethical reasons. I stopped eating cows, and then I realized that I didn't want to be eating chickens or turkeys either. Um, so, unfortunately, my family supported that decision,
Yeah,
so it was really pretty easy for me.
that's awesome. There are so many people who don't have that story, right? They, especially if you're young and you're still at home and you're like, I don't
Absolutely.
want to do this, I don't want to eat this way anymore. And some families take it almost like an affront or like it's offensive.
Right,
You don't want to eat my food anymore, almost
right.
like you're not part of the family. So it's
Yeah.
really nice that you had a different experience.
I mean, I come from a family, a culture where food isn't that important.
Okay.
So, I wasn't really saying anything about anybody's identity. And
Mhm.
my parents are animal lovers. So, that they went with it. But, in 1989, my mom was like, "Okay, and what are we gonna feed you?" So
Yeah.
it's a lot of casseroles with, beans, which, hey, I love a bean casserole.
Yeah, who doesn't? A nice walnut loaf, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there are it's definitely a lot easier now for parents, right? When their kids come to them and say, "Hey, I don't wanna eat this way anymore. I wanna try this out. I wanna do this. It's important to me." The parents, like, can easily get into the growth of their regular grocery store, no trips to a special health food store required anymore, and can
That's
pick
right.
up those things and feed their kids and not worry about them being unhealthy or, missing out on things. They don't have to spend all day in the kitchen making bean casseroles.
Yes, yeah, it's such a change. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a great story. I love it. Did you find that as a kid, even before you made that decision, that you were drawn to animals, or was it kind of you found out some information and went, "Oh, I don't like that." Did you
I
always
don't
kind of
think I
feel
found
connected?
I'm sorry to
No.
interrupt you.
No, no.
I don't think I found out any information. I just thought, "Well, that doesn't make sense." Right? I
Ah.
like these guys, so why would I eat them? Because eating them,
Hmm.
of course, means that they're being killed. So that just now, granted, I was, I still wore leather and wool, and I actually had a horse, so we had all kinds of leather products for her. So that real inconsistency was not lost on me. And then
Mm.
from there, it was looking at products that are tested on animals, for cosmetics and kind of focusing in that area.
Okay. Yeah. I think it's I think a story like this is really important for parents to hear because I think there's also and I'm thinking about things I've heard from parents whose kids are like, I don't want to eat animals. I want to go vegan. I want to be vegetarian. And they're just like, it's a phase. They don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah,
And then to hear from someone who is a grown up to be like, no, when I was a kid, I was like, huh, that doesn't make sense. And I didn't want to do it anymore. And it was as simple as that.
yeah,
I think it's
yeah.
great for people to hear that and go, oh, my kid could be having that same experience. So let me take this seriously.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
right. That is great. I think when there's a dialogue, right? And yes, we do all have phases, but if it's coming from something in the heart and the gut, right,
Hmm.
it is really important to listen. My
Yeah.
nephew is a vegetarian,
Okay.
um, and I suspect that he came to that um, somewhat through me. And sure, I would love for him to be vegan, but that's not that's not for me
Hmm.
to decide or to push. If he ever wants to know, I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so awesome. It feels good to know that we can plant seeds and show people how to do it, that it's not that hard, that we live normal lives.
Yeah,
Um,
it's
we're
so
just
easy.
we're
It's
just
so
people.
easy. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's easy to get lost in, like, kind of the big picture, I think, of wanting to make, like, significant change in, like, on a big scale. But it's really these little moments, like your nephew seeing how you are operating in that space, and maybe it made him, question it, think about it, go, "Huh, maybe I can do that. That feels right to me." And without even necessarily and maybe you did have conversations, but I think sometimes you don't even have to. When you model this certain way of living around others, they kind of are like, "Oh." Vegan can be such a bad word for people. They
yeah,
feel they've met that one vegan who's mean or judgmental or, you
right.
know, stopped being vegan and was like, "Oh, I wasn't healthy."
Yeah,
But then they can
yeah,
meet people like us and they're like, "Huh, it's just who they are."
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like a different vibe, a different energy.
Well, it was easy for me, and, feel lucky that I didn't really have to travel much of a path. It was just, "Oh, I have this information," or, "I thought about it, and that's not gonna work for me."
Mhm. It makes me it's so thinking about the conversation that we had before we met tonight, um, and I was thinking about one of the first books that I read after going vegetarian, and it was Peter Singer's Animal Liberation,
Okay.
and and I also, only, like, 3 years later, I was working at a hotel. I'm in New Jersey, for people who don't know, and I was working at a hotel that was near Princeton. So I felt like, "Oh my gosh, this amazing mind is, like, right here," and I would get to talk to people. People would come stay at the hotel who were visiting Princeton for X, Y, and Z reason, and I met a woman who was like, "I can get you in to audit one of his classes," and I was, like, so close, and my schedule just didn't work out, and I was
Oh,
never able to sit in, and this brilliant mind, and I had been a philosophy major in college,
oh, wow.
and I knew all about his, utilitarian view on the world and what that meant and how you use it to kind of navigate all the decisions we have to make every single day, and I just was so like, about this guy, right? And he's just like, I have so much to learn from him. He's got the right idea. And, then I start learning my own way. And like, it was a great, like, introduction. And I
Yeah,
still, I've read most of his books, and he was doing a tour because he just re-released Animal Liberation
okay.
with some updates. And so I did get a virtual ticket to that talk.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, but there's, like, things that I don't necessarily love about kind of that utilitarian look on things, and one of the
Mhm.
things you and I talked about briefly was this idea of effective altruism, and so I wanna jump right into that because you had a lot to say about that idea as well. So for the listeners who may not know what effective altruism is, would you mind explaining that?
Yeah, no, I don't mind at all. It's about, it's really partially a numbers game. Right? So using your resources in the most effective way possible. If we think about nonprofits and organizations that are trying to do good in the world, and it's often based on research. So it's not, well, let's see, I think we ought to do this. It's looking at what works. And in animal agriculture, it's, how do you reduce the most amount of suffering, right? And by looking by the numbers. Um, and I think it's really changed. Well, it's been a really interesting lens on animal rights and animal advocacy.
Yeah, I was on the website for Effective Altruism, A Life You Can Save. And
Mm,
that's the book, and that's the
hmm
organization that he's kind of building there. And it has a list of charities that are the good ones per this effective altruism.
uh-huh.
And I was shocked to see Oxfam
Mm,
because from when you think about it, and I'm not an expert on this. So this is just kind of what all my learnings over the years, and I understand that Oxfam does provide animals to the poor in areas where they feel that it is sustainable.
hmm
But from what I saw in the little bit of research that I did, these areas, if they're able to raise animals to eat them, they have to feed those animals something. And
Yeah.
so, are they growing the grain to feed the animals, or does Oxfam ship them grain to feed the animals?
Mm,
Because in either way, either scenario, my thought is if they're growing grain, why can't they eat the grain? They don't
Yes,
need a
it's
goat.
not
They don't
it's
need a
not
cow.
efficient.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
Oxfam is going to ship them grain to feed the animal they've given them, why can't they just ship them grain to eat?
right.
That was it was kind of
Yeah.
I kind of sat here and I was like, I cannot wait to talk to Alyssa about this.
But, I think it's right, it's not uncommon for for us to have things, right, that are kind of backwards or counterintuitive, especially if when they're couched in what is normal,
Mhm.
right? Okay, so there's places where people don't have enough to eat, right? There's plenty of places people don't
Yeah.
have enough to eat. And so well, let's get them animals that provide um eggs and provide milk and provide flesh, so why not do that? Because we're not taught that the most direct way is through the grains, right?
Mhm.
So let's actually raise the grains because we raise enough food around the
Right.
world to feed everyone who is hungry.
Mhm.
But as you well know, we're feeding it all to these animals that we
Yeah.
can uh, torture and kill and then eat. Um, so it's not efficient.
Right.
Um, yeah, a well-fed world does a nice job. I haven't been on their website recently, but theirs is all plant-based. It's feeding the world, uh, but plant-based. So again, it's giving the grains and the plants directly to humans.
Okay. That sounds good to me. And, also his, like, typical example, and it's very also utilitarian, but I saw it right on the front page of the website too. It's this idea of if we where it's that train car story, right? It's like a train is moving along a track and there's one person, let's say the person you love most in your life,
Mm,
along one train track. And then there are 5 people, but you don't know them, but there are 5 people along the other track.
mhm,
How do you choose which track to send this runaway train down? Because you're the one who is in charge and you can make that choice. Do you allow the train to plow into 5 people or do you allow the train to plow into the one person you know? And I mean, that's according to a utilitarian approach, which is where effective altruism comes from. The answer is you let the train go plow down the person you love most in your life because they're only one person.
mhm,
And then we save 5, and saving 5 is better than saving 1.
mhm,
And so that makes sense with what you were saying about this idea of using the numbers to say how do we help? Who do we help the most? And so my question to you, Alyssa, is do you think that's effective? Are we really helping i- in in a way that moves our world forward if that's the approach that we're taking? How do you feel about all of this?
mm, yeah. First, I'm going to say yes and or but I also want to say, as you were talking, I was thinking about, um, with respect to the train, right? We're humans, right? And I don't think that there is a wrong answer to that
Mhm.
question, right? Of
Yeah.
course, 5 to 1, right? That's numbers. Um, but I was thinking about the 4, excuse me, 3 now, little felines I have in my house, and, I choose to feed them chickens and, turkeys.
Mhm.
I don't like it, but, I am in charge of their care, and they live with me, and they're the little furry faces, the little
Mhm.
paws and the whiskers and the tails and all the
Yep.
conversations we have. And so I'm choosing somewhere out there, folks are being hatched, raised in probably terrible conditions, and then killed so that these guys can eat.
Mhm.
Um, anyway, I know that's not exactly what we're saying, but it did come up, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. Um, but yeah, I mean, when the numbers are so staggering, about like 88 billion land animals, raised and killed annually around the world, numbers make sense. Like,
Mhm.
let's hit with the most power that we have to reduce suffering,
Yeah.
right? And so let's go for the numbers. Um, absolutely. But in that perspective, we're sort of negating like the humanness of how complex we are,
Mhm.
and how those individual lives we might save, let's say through rescue, not through sparing lives, but through
Mhm.
rescue. Those lives matter too, as does the individual's the human life who's caring for
Mhm.
you know those animals. So I think it's both. I do think that it is very effective,
Mhm.
um, but I don't think it's the only route that we
Yeah.
that we have for making a difference
Mhm.
and changing the world.
Yeah.
I mean, right? Like I'm just thinking, like, for let's say each child you adopt, that individual child matters versus, well, I'm going to give all my money, let's say, to this organization that I know. I can't even think of. It's a bad example. I can't even think of where that might go. But anyway, that individual matters,
Yeah.
right?
Mhm.
Um, yeah. So, or like the money that I use for veterinary care for my three felines versus donating that money to the organization they came from, that does a lot of thousands of spay and neuter in the area,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
Is there a wrong answer there? No, because these guys need homes and
Mhm.
also the work needs to be done.
Yeah.
I
That
don't
makes a
know.
lot
I
of
mean, what do you
sense.
think?
I think so too, and I think you're right that it can't just be where we look at the numbers. We've got to consider all the stuff. And I too, when I think about, because I live with four felines, and they same thing. Like, cats need to eat, they're obligate carnivores, and we have to make a choice. If we're caring for them, if we choose to care for them, and all four of my cats, like, we didn't even adopt them. They showed up in our backyard. They weren't microchipped. They had no homes. So they were like, "Hi,
There was no choice. You didn't have a choice.
no." They're like, "Cat distribution system here at work. Come let us in." And so we've got these four now who've shown up, and they were out in my world because people are can be irresponsible. They let their cats out. Maybe they're not spayed, they're not neutered. There's lots of kittens happening every year.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so they show up, and I choose to give them a home because their lifespan here with me is probably 16 years or more, maybe, right? Their
Right.
lifespan out on the street is 3 to 4 years if
Mm.
they're lucky.
Okay.
And there's so many risks. And I live like in the mountains. There's not just coyotes around here, but there's giant hawks that will take them away. And like,
Hmm.
there's a
I'm coming to
lot of,
visit you.
yeah, you should. there, there's a lot, that where these cats are at risk when they're out in the world. So I choose to bring them in. But now in my vegan home, I have to choose to feed them. And just like you, chickens and turkeys, the cans of food come in, and it hurts me to know where that food, who that food is made up of. But I also feel like we've created this. We have domesticated animals that rely on
Right.
us. We create situations and scenarios where it is unsafe for them to be without a human
Mhm.
caretaker. And so we're kind of like, okay, this is one of those things where it is making that choice.
Mhm.
And I think that's also something about being vegan that is so powerful, is that we really have, like, we're making choices every day that make a difference. We're making choices to reduce as much suffering as we can in every aspect that we can. But living in a non-vegan world, caring
Mhm.
for animals who could not be vegan, this is the choice we have to make. And it hurts, but yeah, like, I'm not gonna let these cats starve because I don't like the idea of feeding them chickens and turkeys.
Mhm.
And to your point too, yeah, we're spending a lot of money on veterinary care and things where maybe if we took the thousands of dollars a year that go into that, put it towards an organization, maybe now instead of just 4 cats' lives being improved, maybe 8 cats' lives are improved
Mhm.
or 12
Yeah.
cats.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's it's so complex. It's so
It is.
interesting.
And then I think if we, bring back in kind of the human factor of, I imagine you get tons of joy from having these folks in your
Oh,
house,
yeah. Mhm.
right? So there is this part of like, well, I want to have cats. I threaten not to have them and to not get any more cats after these guys have lived their lives because of what they eat,
Mhm.
who they eat, right?
Yeah.
But I suspect that that's not going to be that's not going to be true,
Mhm.
because I get so much out of the relationship,
Yeah.
right? And I think that's part of where, um, like where sanctuaries come in, of in part for people to get to know individuals of species we don't usually know,
Mhm.
farmed species, and to really have that experience of who are these folks, what are they like, what do they enjoy, and to experience that. I mean, of course, it's not the same at sanctuary versus at home, but
Mhm.
yeah, there's so much richness that comes in the relationship,
Yeah.
in the learning about individuals, and also learning about species as a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, the sanctuary piece is so important. Um, I think obviously for the animals who get to live out their lives there, because had they not, they would have met an untimely demise and it would have been awful. Um, or, some of them are even lucky enough to have been born in sanctuary because their,
Mhm.
mom was rescued when she was pregnant. But the experiences that I've had at sanctuaries and when I've brought non-vegans, pre-vegans along with me, um, to watch them see these animals that they consider to be food
Mhm.
interacting in a way that that they recognize, and it's not the cow's responsibility or the pig's responsibility to act in a way that humans
Mhm.
recognize and go, oh, that makes sense, it's kind of like my dog, it's kind of like my cat. But they do, because we do have some similarities in the way we interact, all of us, the humans, the cows, the pigs, the cats and dogs. But when they can see that and put a name to a face and watch
Mhm.
some cows like play in a field and kick a ball around, amongst each
Yeah.
other, or chase each other, to watch one of my favorite memories of being at Farm Sanctuary up in Watkins Glen,
Mm.
New York. Um, they we were taking a tour. My husband was not vegan yet. We were taking a tour, and the tour guide was like, oh, the goats and sheep, they might come see us, they might not, so we'll just kind of hang out here and we'll see what they're in the mood for, which
Mhm.
I love that that's the approach, so respectful, and as sanctuaries should be expected to be. But it was like a little hill that we were waiting at the bottom of, and just all of a sudden, just these sheep and goats just coming over the hill, just running towards us. And it was such a beautiful experience. And the look on my husband's face was like, like,
Yeah.
just because the excitement of them coming to see us, like they knew humans were here and they're like, let's go check it out. And they come over this hill, and it was just like right out of a movie. And to watch when people have those types of interactions, and they feel a connection with an animal that until that moment, they had only thought of them as food. What
Mhm.
a powerful, powerful moment that happens there. And it's one of my favorite things to watch when I'm at a sanctuary.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It is powerful. And even if, you know, uh, an individual, a human comes, to a sanctuary and, doesn't become vegan, let's say overnight, right? It's
Mhm.
still part of that person's experience, right? And a different way of seeing that individual of a particular species, um, and it's a shift. Um, and of course, many sanctuaries do quite a bit of education,
Mhm.
right? And see that as their role. And I think there's, some um, disagreement about how much, the residents should be ambassadors
Mhm.
for their species versus being able to live their lives at sanctuary and do their thing.
Mhm.
Um, I think that's another question that's out there. Not to mention, who do you sa- who do you save? Can you buy anyone? Right? Most sanctuaries don't buy anybody because that's perpetuating the problem.
Yeah.
Um, but the decisions that some of the humans have to make about,
Mhm.
is there space and do we rescue this one but not this other one,
Right.
for a whole host of reasons. Sorry, I
Yeah.
went I went
No.
down kind of a dark path. With
No.
the farm sanctuary, I had been vegan for, I'm making this up, 5 years, 4
Okay.
years. And I did not really wanna go to a sanctuary. I was so worried that I would be devastated,
Mm.
just devastated to because I really don't know any farm species except for horses,
Okay.
to see folks, like, face to face and just to have the
Mhm.
information about what their brethren are suffering, by
Mhm.
the certainly hundreds of millions, if not billions. There aren't any sea animals at I haven't seen any sea animals at any sanctuaries. Anyway,
No.
um, and I went in kind of with this attitude of, "Oh my god, I don't know if I can do this. I'm not sure what's gonna happen." And, the tour guide was a young woman, and she was lovely, and, there was a woman on the tour who had, like, I don't know, a young human in a stroller, and I was like, "Oh god, are you seriously gonna bring the stroller into a paddock?" You know? And she asked a question about, like, "Well, what about, organic milk? Is that okay?" And I'm like, "No." It's like, "All right, calm down. You are not the tour guide. You are not the representative of the sanctuary," right? Because I had just had all this,
Yeah.
that energy, and I know, omnivores and pre-vegans can, they can experience that from,
Mhm.
um, vegan folks, that judgment, that anger, that, hostility. It's not funny. I'm laughing at myself, right? That, I had just created this certain kind of experience, for myself, and then therefore for this, woman. I calmed down. I calmed down halfway through the tour and was really just able to kind of chill out and, uh be mesmerized, by the pigs in the barn
Mhm.
and, to talk to some turkeys,
Yeah.
and just have that positive experience.
So you can have a couple different experiences at a farm sanctuary, right? You can have that where you think about how the animals are living today in this moment, being cared for in the way that they are at the sanctuary. Hopefully they've made some friends in their various groups and that they're living their best like cow life, pig life, whatever. But then, you can also kind of think about the people on the tour with you if they ask questions like that, which I'm sure are well-meaning. They don't think that they're saying anything that would be upsetting to someone. But when they ask that question and you're near a cow who you know had been a dairy cow,
Yeah.
or cows who had been the children of a dairy cow and
Mhm.
were about to be sent off to be made into veal, and now they're living this life, and this person's over there asking about organic milk. You're like, are you freaking kidding me right now?
Right, right. But that's what's meeting people where they are is so important,
Yes. Yeah.
because we're all right, we all most of us, some of us, right, do are grown up do grow up vegan, but, right, I certainly ate animals,
Mhm.
for the first 13 years of my life, and then, until 2011 was eating eggs, and, I wasn't drinking, um, cow's milk, but, ice cream and cheese,
Yeah.
you know, thought, "Well,
Mhm.
I can't live without those things." And there's also so many other systems we're perpetuating, right? Like,
Yeah.
where do all of our products come from, right? Like, where
Mhm.
do our clothes come from? How do we live our daily lives? How much energy are we using? And then down to, like, how are we interacting with the individuals, be they feline or human, in our household or in our neighborhood, right? They're just
Mhm.
so many things we're unaware of,
Yeah.
just based on how we grew up, based on our culture, based on kind of who we are in our own situation. Um, that yeah, we all have things to learn and changes
Yeah, for
to make.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm of the same approach. Certainly I have those moments where I am just over how cruel humans can be. And how disconnected they can be from things, and I really can get lost in that sometimes. But when I think about the work I'm doing, the way I'm trying to move the vegan movement forward within my own activism, that's when I remind myself, "Hey, you weren't born vegan.
Hmm.
You ate animals until you were almost 21, and then you still with the dairy and eggs for a few years after that." Like, so we all come to these things at a different time when the right person shows up, or the right thing comes across our desk or in our news feed, and like, that one thing finally sticks, and we're like, oh, this is what I've been blind to the whole time. This is what I've been missing the whole time. Here's that piece that makes me change.
Hmm.
And so I can pull myself out of that, like, my goodness, humans are capable of so many awful things, but they're also capable of some pretty amazing, incredible things too. And so let me meet people who have grown up where this is normal. Like, people don't even
Hmm.
question eating
No.
animals because it is just what people do. And so without having someone present to them like, "Hey, do you want to maybe think about this?" Very often they won't. They'll go their whole lives not ever having a thought about it.
Hmm.
And it's not because they're cruel or mean, or if they actually thought about it, they wouldn't go, "Oh, I didn't I can't believe I'm part of that." But they just don't know. And so,
Hmm.
yeah,
Well,
like you
or
said,
it's
meet
just
people where
this is
they
how it
are.
is.
Yeah,
Like, I get that it's not a great system, right? I get factory farming, and that's not, I get that it's not good, and I don't want that, but I'm not going to stop eating the animals because that's what they what what humans do.
right.
That's right. That's who's on the menu. That's who's in the
Mhm.
grocery store. So, um, and I need my protein, right? I know
Yeah.
you had I know you have you've covered that topic.
How do you make a difference, Alyssa? What's your activism? What's
Right.
your thing?
Yeah. I do not think of myself as an activist, at least right now. I mean, I do things like, sign petitions and, send like emails to, senators and representatives, things like that. I, I live my life and, work on being the best human I can be at
Mhm.
in any given moment, right?
Yeah.
Um, and that is yeah, I'm gonna say that it's work,
Yeah.
right? Because of so much of what we've been taught to be afraid, right? To fear other people and to feel so separate from others,
Mhm.
other humans, other species. And so being present and being aware of how I comport myself and the energy I have and how I interact with others. uh, That's how I feel I make a difference. And sometimes it's a negative difference. I mean, like I can there are times in the grocery store I have a moment because you know, and so then I have to, kind of calm down and say, well, okay, is that who you want to be? Okay, no. So next time you go in there, how are you going to be? Even though you, right?
Mhm.
Um, and it's through having adopted cats and encouraging people who are vegetarian, people who are vegan, people who are considering that, and talking to them openly and honestly and without judgment when people have questions.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and supporting organizations, back to our effective altruism, supporting organizations, when and where I can, and actually kind of arrange, right? Some of the bigger orgs that are doing kind of like, let's say, corporate campaigns, and also smaller kind of, sanctuary. I would do want to do more, but I absolutely must embrace what I can do.
Yeah, for sure. And I really think that being vegan is activism. Like,
Mm,
not everyone is cut out to be a protester. Not everyone is cut out to do, cubes and stand there and show the
mhm,
videos, and
mhm,
we all need we all need different ways because not everybody reacts the same, right? Like someone who talks to me might be like, all right, I don't get it. And it doesn't have any effect. And then they talk to you because you're the person they needed to hear it from. And they're like, oh, this is why she's vegan. I get it. I'm going to learn more. I'm going to figure this out.
mm,
Maybe I want to do this for myself. And just like there are
mhm,
some people where you can be as kind and gentle with them as you want, but then someone shows them footage from a factory farm, and that's what does it.
yeah,
Some people need that jarring, like,
mhm,
but I think a lot of people don't. A lot of people need someone who will honestly answer their questions without judgment, be there for them, and let them explore and figure it out and not feel like you're being a bad person because you didn't go vegan overnight. So much goes into how we live our lives. Not everybody can go vegan overnight, and they
mhm,
need they need to know that it's okay and that they're exploring it, and that's a good thing. And so I think that those of us in every different way that we show up, that we're doing
mhm.
activism because that's who the world needs us to be in that capacity.
Yeah, I appreciate that because we are different, right? We have
Mhm.
different strengths and weaknesses and activities we enjoy doing and are, are therefore good at. I mean, I am a terrible leafleter. I mean, I don't think there's much leafleting going on anymore, post pandemic. I mean, I can stand with a sign, but leafleting, oh my gosh. And I met this young woman who loves it, and I thought she is the one to be doing it because
Mhm.
she's so positive, she wants to talk to people, she's not getting defensive, right? Because
Yeah.
I watched her, um, and, I we do, right? I think we need the abolitionist approach, and I also think that, welfare is important, as well. And like you said, some people are going to respond to an open, very open dialogue. And other
Mhm.
people are going to respond to, oh my God, I just saw that footage and I had no idea.
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And that shifts them.
Mhm.
Um, it's something about like there's room for us all, you know?
Yeah.
Um, which there has to, I mean, there has to be because we're all here.
Exactly.
And we're not stopping coming, as it
No.
seems. So, having that kind of that perspective of like there is room for the different ways to move this discussion forward and these changes that, right, like all human beings, right, want to be good. And I also
Mhm.
believe that we do the best we can with the resources we have or the resources we think we have,
Yeah.
right? And there's just so many factors that go into that, and we're very complex individuals.
Mhm. I'm very much like, I want the whole world to be vegan, and when people ask me, "Well, do you want me to go vegan?" Yes.
Yes, please.
Yes, I do.
Go convert everyone else
Exactly. How
and meet back here.
Yep. Bring them all. Um, so yeah, I'm always like, yes, I'm leading from the space that I want the world to be vegan. However, I also live in this world and I know, like I said before, not everybody's going vegan overnight. And also when we think about the whole industrial complex that is the food system, there are organizations, there are vegans who are like, I don't care, every factory farm needs to be shut down today and that's the end of it. I would love that,
Hmm.
but it's not going to happen. So while we're working to get them shut down, we also should be trying to make the conditions better while still sharing the message that the end goal is to not have these places exist anymore. But while
Hmm.
they do, why can't we find ways to, and it's not even reduce suffering, and maybe it is like more for the humans than the animals. Maybe these changes don't matter because they're still in this environment where they
Hmm.
are just tortured and hurt, emotionally, mentally, physically every single day until their short lives are ended brutally. Maybe it only makes people feel better when they're like, well, they had a little bit more space. They weren't so crowded while
Hmm.
it was happening. So I feel like end goal is end it all. We need to all be vegan. That's what I want. But I know that it doesn't just happen like that. And
Yeah.
so working with people to get them to that point, I'm never shy about, yes, my end goal is I want you to be vegan, but I'm going to help you figure it out as much as you want me to help you, you know? And
Hmm.
I don't make people feel bad while they're figuring it out. And I think that's a key for me anyway in how I interact.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I don't feel right saying like it's good enough if you just reduce the amount of animals you're eating. So I'd never tell someone that. Yeah, it's good enough. I'd still be like, I want you to be vegan. If you don't want to be vegan, that's on you. But my thing is I want you to be vegan.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and celebrating those, I think celebrating the reduction,
Yeah.
right, of
Mhm.
animal products, and really acknowledging that, um, right, because people have so much going on in their lives and so many things that they're worried about and working on for themselves
Mhm.
and their families, right? Right, that um, non-human species can fall, unless those folks are like in their family, can fall pretty low on that
Mhm.
list, right?
Yeah.
And as you said, it doesn't mean that people are not good human beings,
Mhm.
right? We're all,
Yeah.
you know, complicit in I think creating suffering around the globe
Yeah.
in and or destruction, in multiple in multiple ways, right? So, um, yes, I mean, a vegan world would be the most amazing thing ever and would
Mhm.
solve a lot of problems.
Yeah.
Health, obviously, right? I mean, you've talked about this health, environmental, certainly for the animals, but that's not where we are. We need a lot more love.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
don't just mean for the animals. Yeah, okay. but for each other, for
Yeah.
ourselves.
Right.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There are a lot of humans harmed as well in this whole process.
Oh,
You
for
the people
sure.
who work in
Yeah.
those environments, the people who are suffering because they're eating animals and it's harming their
Mhm.
health. And there's just so many ways that you're right. There is just this suffering kind of just everywhere. But at the same time, because I don't want to keep harping on you said before, like, I'm going to a dark place. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm right there with you. And it seems that I've kind of kept that going. Um, but there is a lot of beauty in the world. And, we all have the ability to love more and give more and be more of that. And by shining that light, we're able to make more significant changes in the world. Um, and I want to also point out that you are a coach and you help women, right, find that within themselves. Is that right? Tell us about your coaching practice, what you do, who you help.
Yeah, it is so important for us to come to a place of more self-acceptance,
Mhm.
self-compassion, and to release some of that judgment that most of us have running in our minds all the time for self and for others. And I'm trained to help anyone, and I have a number of clients who are not vegan. Yeah, I help vegan women create work in a lifestyle that works for them.
Mm,
So if maybe they are somewhere in animal advocacy and they need a break um, or need to shift, helping them navigate that transition, or whether they're
mm,
in a relationship that's not working for them. Um, Again, helping them navigate that space, really figure out what it is that um, they want, because that's another piece of this. We get to have we get to go after what we want, right? We were just talking about, well, there's so many problems and we need to fix them. Um, but there's something magical that happens when we're fulfilled, right? When we're seeking
mhm.
joy, and the
Yeah.
positive energy that we bring um, and that we send to those around us is really important. And if we're miserable, which many of us are,
Mhm.
right? There's tons of human suffering, and I don't just mean like physically, right? But all the
Yeah.
stuff, the garbage that we're telling ourselves,
Mhm.
right? The way we're competing with each other. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy of love. Um, that is such a problem.
Yeah.
And we're just not taught, or rarely taught, how to be good to ourselves,
Mhm.
how to tell the truth to ourselves, um, and how to, yeah, to show up for ourselves, and to, give the love that we want to receive, give the
Mhm.
respect that we want to receive. Yeah, so I feel very lucky to be able to be a coach. And I have right now, I have a coach, and I've had coaching off and on for over 10 years, because it's
Mm.
so powerful and helps me get out of my own way, get
Yep.
unstuck,
Yeah.
right? And see things from a different perspective, and stop telling stories, right?
Mhm.
Like, and the beliefs we have about ourselves and the world around us have a huge impact on how we feel, and
Yeah.
therefore what we do and don't do, right?
Mhm.
And so, we want to change our lives, but we keep doing the same thing.
Yep.
Doing the same things is going to get uh, the same reaction, the same response. But we don't know how to do anything differently, because we've been running those patterns our entire lives.
I think one of the most powerful things a coach ever said to me was around, we were talking about self-worth and, like so many other people, I have that tape in my head for so long from people, in my childhood, authority figures, people who were supposed to love me and be
Mm,
the protectors, those tapes of just that I'm not good enough. There's nothing I can do that would ever be meaningful. Like I don't have there's no reason for me. There's nothing
Mm,
here. I don't have anything to offer. And and when you're so deep in that and someone tells you, you just, start thinking about this differently, start saying something different to yourself. You're like, "Are you kidding me? That's not gonna work." Like, I don't even have anything to offer. Why would I tell myself something
mhm,
different? And then they tell you, "Look at how effective the things you've been telling yourself are." You hate
mm,
yourself
mm,
because of all of these things that are constantly on that tape in your head, and that's why, you have a job you hate, you have a relationship you hate,
mm, mhm,
you don't have friends that build you up. It's like you're creating this and you're perpetuating it by living in those words. And then if that can be that powerful, why couldn't I am good enough? I have so much to
mhm,
offer. I love myself. Why couldn't that have the same weight if you let it?
mhm, mhm.
Yeah. And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
And with so much of it we can't see for
Mhm.
ourselves, right? So having someone to kind of reflect back to us,
Yeah.
but also having someone in your corner. You're like,
Right.
wait, no, 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 no. Stop, Kimberly. That is not true,
Mhm.
right? Like you are beautiful, worthy, wonderful, important, right?
Yeah.
And like, wait, what?
Who
But
said
like
that?
hearing like hearing that and being
Yeah.
in a space where like you said, like with like friends and family, other people who are reflecting back, right? Like your worthiness, right? Our own worthiness. Then it's right. It,
Mhm.
we can start to shift.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, we are our own worst enemies. I mean, I appreciate,
Truly.
right, that most of us have some kind of, something in our childhoods, right? And some people have some really terrible, terrible traumas in their childhoods. But but most of us have something that
Mhm.
we've been telling ourselves our
Yeah.
entire lives. It's just not true.
Mhm. Reach out to Alyssa and get some coaching.
Yeah, I'm here, and I
Yeah.
love vegans, and I also love pre-vegans or omnivores.
Yeah.
So you can be anywhere on your journey for sure, because 'cause we're all on a journey.
Yep.
Yeah, we're all learning, we're all growing. Yeah.
Yeah. I love it. I have one more question for you, Alyssa.
Yes, yes.
Tell me about your favorite hummus or your favorite way to eat hummus, favorite recipe, whatever.
Yeah. Well, this is I don't know if this is gonna be very interesting. But and my favorite right now is Ithaca is the
Oh.
brand. So I
Mhm.
do store bought. I do a lot of store bought things. And I was actually eating the lemon and garlic hummus with some veggies
Ooh,
before we got together here.
nice.
But yeah, like even with chips or crackers. I mean, we've started doing falafel bowls where we have
Mm.
hummus dressing, but you could put
Yeah.
hummus in there with the falafel. I mean, there's just so much you could do, right? I mean, and
Yeah.
Ithaca makes a number of really good flavors.
Mhm.
But I have never made what I consider a good hummus.
Okay.
So I am open to recipes. I definitely can use my food processor. It's just like, oh man, when you know something's good and it's right there, and
Yeah, I
someone
know.
already made it.
Exactly. Sometimes that's your self-care too, right? Like we don't need to do everything. If we love a hummus that's made that we can get at the store, just get the store-bought hummus.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yes, yes, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. I've had people I still haven't tried it and I cannot believe it, but there've been other guests, they put hummus on their pasta. They turn that hummus into like with mixed with a little like pasta water to thin it out a little bit. and just put that on some noodles, some pasta noodles.
Yes, please.
I know, right? And I'm thinking
Yeah.
about maybe like having some like cherry tomatoes and like putting them in there and
Yes.
like,
Okay, so this is just new recipe born.
yeah,
Yes, yes.
play around with
Okay.
that a little bit.
Uh-huh. Absolutely.
That is
So good.
fantastic. Yeah, it really is like the best food.
It is the best food, and it's filling, it's nutritious. You can pair it with so many different things, right? You
Yeah.
can buy it, you can make it.
Mhm.
I mean, come on.
Yeah. It's hummus for all of us.
Yes, yes.
Alyssa, this has been wonderful. What an incredible conversation. We covered lots of different things, lots of emotions, lots of like thought-provoking stuff. And that truly is like my favorite thing about being vegan is there's so much to talk about. There's so
Mhm.
many ways to look at things. And I really appreciate that you came with your perspective and that we had a really great uh, back and forth. And it was just wonderful. I can't wait for everyone to hear it.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here, and it's great to talk to you and connect about some of these topics that are important.
Yeah, super important. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Welcome back. How will you spread more love into the world? Will you start with yourself? If you follow me on social media, you'll realize that I finally had hummus pasta just last week. Be sure to share your favorite hummus recipe with me and Alyssa by tagging us on social media. You can even send me a DM, and I'll make sure that Alyssa gets the recipe too. To connect with Alyssa, visit her website at rootedrise.com. You can connect with her on LinkedIn, follow her on Facebook at Rooted Rise, and on Instagram at Rooted Rise Coaching. Links to connect with Alyssa, as well as many things we discussed, can be found in the show notes. I hope you found this episode helpful and inspiring. Please subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And if you're loving it, please give Did You Bring the Hummus a 5-star rating and leave a review. It's an easy way to keep supporting the show. Be sure to share these episodes with your friends. If you're finding something good here, they will too. If you're a vegan or you know a vegan who would be a great fit for the podcast, follow the Be a Guest link in the show notes. Fill out the quiz and I'll be in touch. I also have a new freebie on my website. Sign up for my mailing list and get a PDF of 3 amazing vegan recipes. Follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Did You Bring the Hummus, and visit my website, didyouBringTheHummus.com, for more information about me, updates on what I'm working on, new podcast episodes, and all things vegan. Finally, I would love to hear from you. What do you need help with? Is there a topic you want to hear covered on a future episode? DM me on Instagram or send me an email. didyouBringTheHummus@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.